Joe Smith Jr. versus Jesse Hart on Top Rank main event, Atlantic City, post-fight. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, this video is not going to be too long, but make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, subscribe for ESPN Plus using my link. It's in the description of any of my videos. You'll be able to find it. And I want to give my thoughts on Jesse Hart versus Joe Smith Jr. Very good performance by Joe Smith Jr. Jesse Hart, not so much. This was at light heavyweight. Both guys were looking to, Jesse Hart recently kind of moved up. And, he had a tough time. Well, I wouldn't say a tough time with Sullivan Barrera, but Sullivan Barrera definitely didn't look like the same guy that Andre Ward fought. And I think he could have did more. You know what I'm saying? Just the way Sullivan Barrera. So I've always had like little nuanced things that I've noticed with Jesse Hart's fighting. Also with the two Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez fights, he makes almost weird decisions at weird times, I guess is a good way to put it. And that was evident here. Joe Smith Jr., he doesn't do the tidiest work, but he's like more of the, not really, I wouldn't even say Wilder, because he's not as athletic as Wilder, but he's like white Wilder, almost like when he first started, when he was fighting Audley Harrison. He was a bit, he just wasn't as tidy. I think Wilder's been more seasoned becoming a champion, but similar, he's not straight up and down the cleanest worker, but one thing he has is that power, and he had that right hand cocked, and he just made it a rough, rugged, mauling fight. Like Joe Smith Jr., he's a union worker. So he has an actual 9-to-5 job, and then he does boxing, trying to win a world title, try to get there on the side. So I commend him for that, because that must be hard, and working a full job and then, having the discipline to do your boxing stuff. So he's an all-American kind of guy, and he's kind of like a lumberjack type of, just a dude, you know what to expect. Again, he's not going to be as technical as Bernard Hopkins or something, but he's able to beat guys who are more technical than him, like Bernard Hopkins and also Jesse Hart. The judges had it a split decision, which was pure and utter bullshit. There's really no way you could have seen it for Jesse Hart unless you were like paid off or, there's no sane way you could have it for Jesse Hart. Andre Ward, if you looked at his scorecards, Timothy Bradley, listened to their commentary, they all had him down. Andre Ward's scorecard had him down. I didn't really score it, but I did the eye test, and I don't really know many rounds you could give Jesse Hart. And the more rounds you gave him, the more generous you're being. I thought he fought the wrong game plan. He didn't really have a game plan. I think that's kind of what the issue was. His game plan, I guess, was to box and move, but as Andre Ward was pointing out on commentary, it didn't really make sense. You got more skills than Joe Smith Jr., and you're taller, and you're fighting him in a almost a frantic way. Boxing is such a sweet science where you have to look at it like, let's use Andre Ward. The reason Andre Ward is able to beat a guy like Sergey Kovalev is because he has the experience to beat him and know how to tame that style. If you notice it, the guys that fought Kovalev like Jean Pascal did, they end up losing or getting knocked out by Kovalev, especially at that time. Kovalev was undefeated. However, Andre Ward brought a dynamic in the Kovalev fight, even though he had only had a few fights at 175 light heavyweight, and it showed to be the kryptonite of Kovalev, bully the bully. And Jesse Hart, to me, he never was going to win with this particular game plan because his feet were never planted. He was like punching on the move. He was never like getting respect from Joe Smith Jr. And it becomes easier for Joe Smith Jr. to keep plowing forward and keep enacting more of his fight when Jesse Hart wasn't gaining any respect and always fleeing and, moving a lot and moving unnecessarily. Joe Smith Jr. is a puncher, yes, but when you sign the contract, you know that. So to me, the strategy should have been be smart, but also gain some respect. If Joe Smith Jr., I told you he's kind of like a burly lumberjack, or he's a union worker. He uses his hands by trade, in his day job, stuff like that. Probably has to lift, operate cranes and lift heavy cinder blocks or whatever. He's just strong as an ox. So if he doesn't respect your MO and you mix it up on him and confuse him, then he's gonna do what he's done to B-Hop and Funfara and even Bevo in the 12th round. You got to discourage him, and it comes with risk, but you signed up to fight him, so you have to be prepared to try to beat him. To me, there was really no way Jesse Hart was going to win. And the thing about the sweet science is the way Hart was fighting, it was just too frantic and too much motion and too much movement, and every fighter is going to flatten out usually at the halfway mark, at least the championship rounds. But by round 5 or 6, you've been in a fight, especially if you're trying to ward off and, deter a strong come forward guy like Joe Smith Jr., and when you flatten out, you can't just be on the move. You ain't got no respect for the last 4 or 5 rounds. You didn't make him respect what you had going. You're always on the move and like punching as you're moving. I don't know. It's just it wasn't a good night for Jesse Hart to me. I think Jesse Hart was too squared up, like he was tired and he was walking himself straight back. He was on the ropes too much, and this fell into Joe Smith Jr.'s plans nicely. Jesse Hart was badly hurt. He got hurt a couple times, but he got dropped and then took a knee and then tried to jump up. Sometimes that Philly Hart is too big for even the fighter. Like he took a knee and then got back up, but he had no legs. And then Joe Smith Jr. seen all this, and then he ensued an onslaught. So with the referee, based on the positioning, he's likely seen it. You already got a 10-8 round because there was no way the ref didn't see it. You should have just took your time and at least slow the action. So in terms of like the ring IQ for the taller guy with more boxing skills, I didn't really see that from Jesse Hart in this performance. It didn't seem like he was utilizing the attributes that he had that gave him the best chance. So I thought this was a runaway fight for Joe Smith Jr. It puts him back in the spotlight. Him versus Beterbiev would be an absolute war. Just two guys that can hurt each other, things like that. That's just really what I seen. It just wasn't Jesse Hart's night. I think the game plan, they were focusing a lot on the narration and, I'm doing this for B-Hop. And that's probably why one of the judges allegedly, I don't know if Top Rank, pays him. I don't know, but I don't see any way Jesse Hart won this fight. Joe Smith was too constant, too rugged. Again, it wasn't always the cleanest work, but he was the aggressor, let his hands go. He hurt the man. He threw more power shots, and, he roughed up and, kind of ragdolled Jesse Hart. And then it got to the end rounds, and it was almost like Clarissa Shields' opponent last night. You're not going to win fighting like this. So you have to really be committed to get knocked out and go for broke, but risk the chance of getting knocked out or something. But it got to the last final rounds, and there was no way Jesse Hart was going to win the way he was fighting, and he didn't kind of really go for broke. Tim Bradley was kind of requesting that from him, and overall Joe Smith just won. So I seen zero way it could have been a split decision. Really wasn't even a close fight. It was entertaining because you have one guy who's kind of fleeing and he was throwing singles. Jesse Hart was throwing more singles, whereas Joe Smith Jr. was trying to get his range and, coming in and just more of a bulldog. He was a termite. He just kept grinding and grinding and grinding. And some of those things were landing. So that's what it is. Jesse Hart also had a bad cut open up. The referee made these referees are like, they're good referees, but they're bothering me in these fights because the referee, you're not supposed to feel like they're there. And I know that they are there because they're making some weird calls. In the middle of the action, when Joe Smith Jr. had momentum, the referee stops it for the cut that opened up. You know, I wasn't really a fan of that. I don't feel like you should lull the action and right then and there, because if Joe Smith Jr. would have been able to seize the action, he might have got a knockout, you know, before the cut really was even a factor. You know, so they let Tyson Fury on ESPN. They let Tyson Fury continue, and his cut was horrible. And then it opened up a second cut. They let him keep fighting, and then literally seconds after Jesse Hart's cut opened up, the ref took him to the doctor. You just lull the action. When people's mouthpiece fall out on the canvas and stuff, you're supposed to wait for a break or a lull in action, a dull spot, and then you do that. So it's not like we want to see fighters get their teeth knocked out, but that's one of the risks. You have to protect yourself, you know, run to the other side of the ring, and then the ref will call a timeout or something. But you got to keep fighting. That's what they say in boxing. Protect yourself at all times. So I thought that was a real chintzy, weird moment to actually stop the fight. But congrats to Joe Smith Jr. Jesse Hart had a lot to say in the pre-build. You know, he dedicated to B-Hop, said B-Hop was in camp. Joe Smith Jr. just too rugged. It was kind of, it put you in the mindset of a Robert Guerrero versus Berto. You know, Sean Porter versus Berto. Those types of fights where it's just real mauling, real rugged, and you know, the person just staying at you and insane amount of pressure, and you could tell that the pressure, the opponent didn't like it and couldn't slow the tempo. You know, let me know what you guys think. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next videos, Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.